You trade in the #1 pick for maybe a better situation at #3 or whatever?
I feel like I'm the best player in the country. The best player should go #1.
For Carter to be like Micah Parsons and resemble Micah Parsons. You see what Parsons doing with the Dallas Cowboys. That's what people are going to look at. That's the kind of guy that can impact the game when you need it the most.
The NFL draft is quickly approaching, and I know there are plenty of fans who don't pay much attention to the incoming prospects every year, but this year especially, there are some can't miss prospects. Just like every year, you have your huge media guys like Travis Hunter and Ashton Janty, who everybody has heard about after their once-in-a-lifetime Heisman Trophy race, plus the top quarterbacks like Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. But there's one man that every football fan should know about come April 24th, and that's Abdul Carter. The next Micah Parsons is making his way to the NFL, and opposing quarterbacks should be terrified. Over the past few years, we've seen some absolutely elite edge rushers get drafted, like Aiden Hutchinson in 2022, Will Anderson Jr. in 2023, but Penn State's Abdul Carter is arguably better coming into this year's draft than any edge rusher that we've ever seen in a very long time. Let's start with the measurables. Abdul Carter is a 6'3", 250-pound athletic freak. That is arguably the most flexibility a prospect has had since Myles Garrett, along with the positional versatility that Micah Parsons came into the league with. I mean, it's so easy to compare Abdul Carter to Micah Parsons. They both have the same build, they both have experience as a stand-up linebacker, and of course, they both wore the number 11 and played for Penn State. However, there's one major difference between the two. Abdul Carter has elite college-level production as an edge rusher, and Micah Parsons didn't, which is the reason that he fell all the way to the number 12 pick back in 2021. Micah sat out his last year at Penn State due to COVID, and his draft stock took a little bit of a hit because of it. That didn't happen with Abdul Carter. After playing as the primary off-the-ball linebacker in his first 2 seasons at Penn State, he made a full-time switch to edge rusher in 2024, and this was originally seen as a huge risk, but paid off for Abdul Carter in a huge way. Abdul Carter would post 12 sacks and a Division I leading 24 tackles for a loss in 16 games. That is absolutely ridiculous. Carter is a lock to be selected in the top 4 of the NFL draft, and it's looking more and more like he'll end up with the New York Giants at number 3. I mean, it looked like he was gonna be a lock to be selected at number 3 overall before Giants ownership got involved.
I think Abdul Carter is special enough to where they might just go, you know what, we'll take Abdul Carter and we'll have him across from Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. This will be his last year as a Giant and we'll move on. That'll be something interesting for sure if that happens in this draft.
It's all but confirmed that Cam Ward will be the number 1 overall pick to the Tennessee Titans, and Adam Schefter confirmed this month that the likely pick by the Cleveland Browns at number 2 is Travis Hunter. So if this happens, Giants fans, you better hope that Joe Shane runs a draft card with Abdul Carter's name up to the podium himself, because this is a dream scenario. I posted my big board on my X account, which you guys should follow if you don't already, and I have Abdul Carter as the best overall player in this class. Yes, ahead of Travis Hunter. That's how good this kid is. Pairing him up with Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau on the edge, alongside arguably the best interior defensive lineman in football in Dexter Lawrence, would automatically make the New York Giants defense terrifying. And that's not even mentioning their upgraded secondary after the massive signings of Javon Holland and Paulson Adebo. I mean, if you look at some of this guy's tape, you'll see the impact he has on the football field firsthand. Carter has all the physical tools to be an elite pass rusher at the next level, with his 4.48 second 40 time and his 4.35 second shuttle, which would have ranked him 3rd among edge rushers at the combine. But where he separates himself from the rest of the draft class is the way he goes about rushing the passer from a psychological level. Let's take a look at this rep against USC, for example. Carter lines up against USC's right tackle Mason Murphy on this specific play with about a yard of outside leverage, and for someone with Carter's speed and bend, it'd take some fantastic tackle play to keep him out of the backfield, and Murphy knows this. Once the ball is snapped, Abdul Carter takes a slow approach to the line, giving Murphy time to take his steps and meet Carter chest to chest. However, Carter knew exactly what he was doing, and he had Murphy exactly where he wanted him. He fakes a power step inside, and because of his absurd athleticism, that little hesitation is enough for Murphy to close up his right side, allowing Carter to burst right around him for an easy sack. Keep in mind, all this happened in like 5 seconds real time. Now compare that to this rep against Maryland about a month and a half later. On this play, Carter still lines up about a yard off of the tackle, but this time he lines up with his hand in the dirt. He is showing that he is ready to absolutely take off and beat the tackle with whatever move he decides to whip out with ease. However, same as the rep I went over against USC, there's a twist. As soon as the ball is snapped, Maryland's left tackle Andre Roy Jr. plays off of Carter's positioning and takes a big step to the left to try and stop the freight train while he has the chance to. Little did he know though that Carter was going to use the momentum he had from lining up in a 3-point stance to explode through the B gap. This was yet another psychological masterpiece from Carter, and let me tell you why. Pre-snap, Carter knew that cornerback AJ Harris was blitzing from the nickel behind him, who would require the attention of the blocking running back in the backfield. So he forced his way inside, which left him basically untouched with a free lane to the quarterback after the running back did indeed take the blitzing corner. And he's just too damn good to waste an opportunity like that. I talked about the Micah Parsons comparison earlier in the video, and man, it's evident. Here we see Micah Parsons lined up inside, as opposed to the reps we saw from Carter, where he was playing outside. But the premise is all the same. Since he's attacking the guard the same way he'd attack a tackle, he uses his size, speed, and psychological advantage to fool the Commanders' left guard the same way Carter did against USC, with a fake inside followed by an unguardable burst to the newly opened outside hip of the lineman. It's clear that Penn State coached them the same way, and with their similar size, don't be surprised if Carter comes in day one and proves to be one of the best pass rushers in all of football, just like Micah Parsons did.
He said he's going to be a game changer. I absolutely agree with him. He is by far the best player in this draft, and I think the rookie who has the best traits to come in, Booger, and be that day one guy.
Before all of the Cam Ward hype, Carter was the favorite to be selected number 1 overall in the NFL draft, and for good reason. But one criminally underrated aspect of drafting a player like Carter at a premium position, even if it were to be with the 1st or 2nd overall pick, is the amount of cap that you'd be saving over the next 5 years. I heard my good friend Brett Coleman talking about this, and it was a super interesting point of view that I never thought of before. We frequently talk about the advantage of having a quarterback on a rookie scale contract when you select him in the 1st round of the NFL draft. You pretty much get 5 years of a QB at an undervalued rate by doing this if you select him in the 1st round, and that goes to 4 years if you select him in the 2nd round. Obviously the quarterback has to hit, but if he does hit, then you have the luxury of investing that remaining cap space in every other position around him, sometimes to great success, like what the Philadelphia Eagles did for Jalen Hurts and what the Kansas City Chiefs did for Patrick Mahomes. And sometimes it doesn't work out as well, kind of like what happened with Tua and the Miami Dolphins. Brett pointed out that the free agent market has absolutely skyrocketed, with quarterbacks making upwards of $60 million per year, and wide receivers and edge rushers being right behind them at $40 million per year after the Jamar Chase and Myles Garrett deals that went down this offseason. But the one market that stayed the same throughout all of the contract inflations is the entry-level contract. Last year's 1st overall pick, Caleb Williams, signed a backloaded rookie contract worth about $7 to $12 million per year. And yes, that's a quarterback. But Travon Walker, the 2022 1st overall pick and an edge rusher, signed a contract worth just $1 million less per year. If you go all the way back to 2017, Myles Garrett signed the same exact contract that Walker did 5 years earlier. At that time, the highest paid edge rusher, Von Miller, was only making $19 million per year. That's half of the largest edge rusher contract nowadays. Whoever drafts Abdul Carter, again, likely the Giants, if they don't do something stupid, will be getting him for 5 years at a premium decade-old price, especially since he won't even be the 1st overall pick, while the rest of the league's elite pass rushers are making $25+ million per year. If you take a look at the Giants' cap situation, a lot of their key guys are locked up until at least 2027, with guys like Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence, who have the 2 wealthiest contracts on the team, being locked up until 2029 at the earliest. So being able to have Carter at $6 to $12 million gradually over that time is the biggest win this team could have coming out of this draft. It would leave them much more room to improve their pitiful offense, because their defense would be absolutely set for years. The same thing goes if Cleveland ends up taking him at number 2. Can you imagine Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett being lined up across from one another for at least the next 5 seasons? That might be the scariest sight in all of football. Garrett just signed the fattest contract an edge rusher has ever signed, and getting an edge rusher as talented as Carter to play alongside him on a discount would be absolutely insane.
I do know this, they've spent a lot of time with Abdul Carter, the pass rusher out of Penn State. They've gotten to know him very well. He has definitely felt the love from the Browns at every level of the organization, getting to know a lot of those people.
I mean, regardless of whether this guy ends up a Brown, a Giant, talent, or even a Patriot somehow if one of those two teams decides to draft Shedeur Sanders, Abdul Carter is a generational pass rush talent, and he knows it. The guy didn't even bother working out for a team that doesn't have a top 4 pick. That's just so baller. The day this guy steps on an NFL field for the first time will be the day that one of these 3 franchises from picks 2 through 4 turns around completely. He'll be a consistent double-digit sack guy. He'll make Pro Bowls, and don't be surprised if he ends up winning a Defensive Player of the Year award before his rookie contract is up. Abdul Carter is a special talent, and I can't wait to see where he ends up. As a Cowboys fan, I really hope it's not to the New York Giants. But you know whose pre-draft process isn't going so well? Shedeur Sanders. His worst nightmare seems to be coming true as his draft stock is falling for the most bizarre reason. We have a completely separate video on that. I'm gonna leave it in the end screen, and I'll meet you guys there. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.